I don't know about you, but I find it fascinating that we seem to be drawn to the meeting of the elements. I don't think I know of anybody who is not attracted to this, who is not drawn to where we have the meeting of the water, the land, and the air, especially this time of year with nice warm breezes and the lapping waves, and the warm sand beneath our feet if you happen to be on a beach. I don't think this is accidental. In the beginning of the Bible, we read of God shaping these elements. We read of the vastness of the waters. We read of the wind blowing over the waters, the land taking shape. And then with this place prepared, life appears, only it doesn't just appear, it is spoken into existence. I believe perhaps we are drawn closer to our origins then. There is something very basic about this. We are drawn also because it takes us away from the constructs and the symptoms of life that we build around us and build into our lives, and we get to experience something a little more, something more basic, something more authentic, something more real, something that connects with our very origins. I believe it was something like this at play. I think we find something like this at play in the story that we've just read together. I believe we find something like this at work in the minds and hearts of these men who wanted to bring their friend to experience the healing of Jesus. Now, of course, they weren't thinking in these terms. They weren't thinking in the kinds of terms I've just outlined. They weren't, of course, thinking of Jesus as the locale in a person of the meeting of heaven and earth, the meeting of the heavenly and the earthly, as we have come, as the church came to understand Jesus in the wake of his life and ministry and the teaching of the apostles. They, of course, were not thinking of Jesus as the locale, as a person who, in his being, is the meeting of the heavenly and the earthly, the finite and the infinite, the eternal and that which is of the time we know. They just wanted to help their friend. They were counting on the ample evidence they had heard about this man who was healing, who had powers. I think they sensed this power, but of course didn't understand at this point the true nature of his power. So we have the simplicity of their motive now being, we will see, played out in the developing religious, political embroiling of that they're about to experience or find themselves in the middle of without really knowing what was going on. It's referred to, we find it referred to, as Luke speaks of, the Pharisees and teachers of the law, who he says have come significantly from every village in Galilee and Judea and from Jerusalem. This is an intentional gathering. They have come because they feel an increasing threat from this Jesus. So we have here, and right after that then, Luke notes, after he mentions about them, he mentions, and the power of the Lord was with him, Jesus of course, and the power of the Lord was with him to heal. So we have these people, powerful men who have gathered intentionally because they are increasingly hostile to Jesus, and Luke's note that the power of Jesus, the power was with Jesus to heal. So in other words, we have the setting for a showdown of sorts. In fact, the whole thing seems to me rather cinematic. Reminds me of those movies, where you have the sort of two threads of the plot that the scenes bounce back and forth from, and they continually advance, and you just know at some point those two thread lines of the plot are going to converge, and something is going to happen. We just don't know what yet. Something is going to be revealed that has so far not been discernible to us from either thread of the plot. That seems to be what's happening here. And in the midst of this come these men who innocently and lovingly want to have their friend healed. For now, let's just focus on them in their line of the plot. There's this plot of them coming to get their friend healed, and these religious leaders coming for a different reason, converging on this developing action. These are true friends. Any of us would be blessed to have friends such as these. They were determined, to say the least. I mean, the setting was chaotic. The house was jammed. The doorway was clogged. There didn't seem to be any way they could get their friend to the person they wanted to get him to. In fact, some friends might look at that and say, you know what, this just isn't going to work today. I'm sorry, bud, but we tried. But of course they would not have really tried, because true friends don't give up like that. True friends are not dissuaded by mere circumstances. So here again, I think the kind of movie thing comes into play, because it reminds me of, when in say an action movie, when the hero comes into a situation where it seems he's into a jam that he's not going to get out of, and suddenly, the helicopter comes up the face of the cliff and he's rescued from the guys who are chasing him, or something happens just when it seems that the end has come. Well, something like that happens here. Just when it seems there's no hope for the friends to get their friend to Jesus, they find a way. They find a way to the roof. And they make a hole in the roof. I mean, it's not that there's this hatch or something in the roof that they can open up and lower their friend down. They create a hole in the roof. I'm sure the man's insurance company must have been pleased. They create a hole in the roof. And picture this. This is an amazing scene. That's why I call it cinematic, because picture this. It's an amazing scene. They have this man. They lower him on it's called a bed, some kind of pallet. Certainly not the high-tech, secure sort of stretcher that we see the paramedics using these days. And there's this crowd, and they lower him down in the midst of this crowd, right to the feet of Jesus.